And I did that well. I paused. Then the commercial came on to pay Arash's bills, and then I carried on. That was so smooth. That's professional broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway.
That is a veteran. That's a veteran right there, Mr. Hewitt.
That is a non-veteran, unfortunately. But, Arash, we were talking yesterday. We want to talk mainly Blue Jays today, and, of course, Sharkies along with us today, Arash. We were talking yesterday, and you sort of made a comment. I literally fell off my chair because I never really realized it at the time. And then when I thought about what you had said, I thought, my Lord, he's right. And I'll go to the OKC Thunder to start with. I thought it was so cool that a small market NBA team built through the draft, I repeat, built through the draft, won the NBA championship and may become a bit of a dynasty. We don't know because they're so young. And then you go over to the NHL and you go, well, can the Winnipeg Jets sign all these outrageous contracts? Well, they just lost Nikolai Ehlers to $51 million and 6 years. But what you said, Arash, yesterday, I said, well, Vegas doesn't seem to be, bringing in good young players to go around these veterans, and then you said they don't have to. They don't have to.
No.
And I thought...
Look, you can spend your way into whatever it is that you want to do. But I also think that it's important to remember that just because you spend the most amount of money doesn't guarantee that you win a championship. Look, last year, the LA Dodgers had the highest payroll in baseball. They win the World Series. You think back a few years ago when Golden State won their last NBA championship, they had by far the biggest payroll in basketball. They're in the luxury tax, etc. But there are also teams, Oklahoma City is one of them. Oklahoma City wasn't a cap team. They didn't need to be because they're so young, because they had so many guys on either entry-level deals or second contracts. I won't get into the vocabulary of it. But ultimately, roster construction is vital in how you're going to go about it. Now, having all the resources, having all the money is going to help. There's no question. But just because you spend the most it still doesn't guarantee you anything. And I think that's important to remember.
So there's two methods to a championship. Would you agree with that? Like the Vegas and Florida you mentioned yesterday, they could be in the Stanley Cup final again. And then you've got other smaller market NHL teams that can't do that, aren't willing to do it. David Thompson's got lots of money there with the Winnipeg Jets, but he wants to spend only to what the market sort of allows. And so is there two competing forces going at it in pro sports now because of all of this?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I buy what the market allows. I think this is a choice by owners of what they want to do. Look, when you think back to when the Rams beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl, which was I think it was February of 22, 3 and whatever years ago. Mm-hmm. The Rams spent to the air quote cap, but they also cash-wise spent like $70 or $80 million more than the next highest paid team. And you can do that because the way you do signing bonuses and you kick contracts down the road and all those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
This is a choice that every owner has in what they want to do. I don't know enough about the greater Las Vegas area, but from a population standpoint, from a market size standpoint, I don't think it's that much bigger than Winnipeg and surrounding area.
Well, it's a little over 2 million now, Vegas and area. But anyway.
So, and what's Winnipeg now? About 1 million?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. Not quite. But
everything is a choice when it comes to owners. And look, we joked about it yesterday, Don. One of the biggest markets in among the two biggest markets in North America, they haven't won anything. The Toronto Maple Leafs, the New York Rangers, the New York Knicks, just because you're a big market, just because you spend a bunch, doesn't guarantee you anything. Miami's a big market. The Dolphins have been stuck in perpetuity of failure forever.
That's true.
at some point, you have to be intelligent in what you're doing. And that's the biggest advantage of all. But the money always helps.
So when you look at what Vegas is doing, and I got no problem with the Marner deal. I mean, Vegas is close. They're close.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So to go and get the leading scorer from another NHL team that was their best player in the playoffs as well for a third line winger, unbelievable deal as far as I'm concerned. Right?
And Sharky, it's not just for a third line winger. They were getting Mitch Marner regardless. They ended up having to part with a third line winger only to avoid tampering charges. That's all that was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's be honest. Mitch Marner was headed to Vegas. Mitch Marner wanted to go to Vegas at the trade deadline. Mitch Marner was talking to Mark Stone and the rest of those guys during the Four Nations face-off to ask, hey, what's life like around there? This was happening.
Yeah.
And what also kind of in this whole discussion is here you have Mitch Marner come in at a time where Alex Petrangelo's like, okay, I'm done. So,
and the Vegas knew that. They knew he was done too.
If you can maneuver and manipulate the system to your advantage, and you have an owner who's willing to write checks, hey man,
pretty simple.
Well,
pretty
the
simple.
number one thing.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Well, that's right. The number one thing it appears, I would think, Arash, that a professional sports team needs is top-notch contract lawyers and cap experts.
You do.
Can you afford the big money for the best contract lawyer in pro sports? It seems like it's becoming so complicated.
But I want to go to the Ehlers deal with you because I think they paid way too much. Second line winger for $8.5 million a year. That's crazy. So
I hear you, Sharky, but also think about it through this lens. I think that we're at a time where the cap is just going to continue to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick Ehlers in 2025 at, would you say, $8 million?
8.5, yeah, something like that.
And he was making around $5 in Winnipeg. Okay, so $8 million today, and $8 million in year 5 and in year 6. What percentage of the cap is it today, and what's the percentage of the cap hit in 2030 and 2031? I think that becomes the interesting point here. This is why I think. And you know me, I'm no Leaf fan, but I think the best value in free agency, and it's a big if because he's got to, if he continues on this trajectory, the Matthew Nyes deal by the Leafs is actually incredible. What that contract is worth today to me is around market value, and in years 3, 4, 5, and 6, under $8 million for that player, to me is legit.
Should be good money.
Should be.
It seems like right now, the way everything's going up, especially in the NFL, sports is recession-proof. It doesn't matter how many people are unemployed or what's going on. If there's a war, these major sports leagues just keep making more and more money, Arash.
Well, Don, so the question is how, and the question is why. There are a lot of things that the pandemic showed us and taught us and revealed to us, but through a sports lens. Never forget this. If you're watching, if you're listening, these leagues, these owners were willing to play games in front of nobody.
Yeah.
They did not do that out of the goodness of their heart. The new TV deal, the new national NHL deal that my previous employers, bless them, just signed, was $11 billion over 12 years. $11 billion with a B. Like, you think about basketball. Like, as long as I can remember, TNT and Turner were part of the NBA. They're no longer, because Amazon swooped in and wrote a check so big that Warner Brothers Discovery said, we can't compete in this market.
That's right.
So if 5 years ago, in the teeth of COVID, they're willing to pay for bubbles and play in front of nobody, and now the money's getting even, almost doubling or 50% more, this is why. This is why when you have revenue sharing and the players get about half of the revenue that comes in, this is the byproduct of it.
Well, there's so much competition to air these games. I mean, the TV ratings in the United States after the changes they made to the different networks are actually down. But it doesn't matter if the TV ratings are down. The competition is so intense between the streamers and the broadcasters is so intense that even if the ratings are a bit down in the United States, the next contract for television will still be higher. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, all signs point to it. And let's remember this. Everybody talks about how much the players make, okay? And yes, God bless them, they're making a bunch of money. But if this is what the labor is making, then what are the owners walking away with?
Yeah, they signed off on it.
The Los Angeles Lakers just sold for $10 billion. $10 billion. So what do the Cowboys sell for tomorrow? What do the Yankees sell for tomorrow? All of those things. Look, they're talking about $2 billion for expansion fees in the NHL coming up. I mean, it's a pretty lucrative business if you can get can get into it.
If you can come up with $10 billion and think you're buying something that's going to make you more money, that's a pretty lucrative operation.
That's pretty lucrative operation.
Let me tell you something. The NHL becoming the first major pro league in North America, going to 34 teams, if that's what happens with Houston and Atlanta, is so absurd. There is no way that there are enough good hockey players in the world.
Doesn't matter, Don.
I know.
Doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't matter. I'm just griping. I know financially, more millions to the owners. I get it from a business point. But from a fan point of view, there's not enough good hockey players. You look at some of the fourth lines now in the NHL, there's dog players. I don't know what dogs, dogs, but there's not.
Don't say that out loud in their presence, Don.
I definitely wouldn't.
You know what the NHL wants to do after they get to 34? They want to get to 36.
Yeah.
And you know the market they want more than Houston, more than Atlanta. The market they're dead set on getting back into is one of the biggest media markets on the continent, and that is Phoenix, Arizona.
I agree.
With his cold, dead, bare hands, Gary Bettman, the last thing he will do is sign
he will. You're right.
Another team to get back to Arizona.
That brings me to another question you brought up, and I know we're running short of time, but
we haven't got to the Blue Jays.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the Blue Jays, which I have to apologize for. But everybody knows they're in first place.
75.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
there's 75 games to go. We got lots.
Lots of time. What's the desire to go back to Atlanta for round 3? Like, where's that coming from? That Atlanta is now a hotspot again for expansion.
It's an owner willing to drop $2 billion, an owner that says, I'm going to have myself an arena deal, and you have 32 other owners who are going to get that $2 billion distributed among them, and they're going to cash the check.
So it's
you know what?
It's got nothing to do with reality or fan support or like we go back to where you are. It's just money.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this right now.
Yeah.
If the NHL goes to 36 teams, the three of us will be playing in the NHL. It'll be that watered down.
Don,
Arash will be body checking me in the corners.
I will look. We live in a world now where the NFL is exploring a European division. Like that. That's not a team. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Not a team. We're talking about a division. Like there is, and look, we're also now going to be in a world where it's not going to have to be a quote unquote individual owner who's going to own 50%. There's going to be Saudi money. There's going to be hedge funds. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to get into the most exclusive club going. And that's NFL ownership, and they're opening the door to it with everything that they continue to show.
So outside of the NFL, basketball and hockey be number 2 to go to Europe. Who goes first?
I would have to say that the league that would have foreign expansion first would be the NBA.
Yeah.
But I would tell you this, Sharky, like where the NBA has wanted to go and would have success at the box office and success business-wise, but just can't pull it off logistically, is Asia. Like the NBA is massive over there. I was fortunate enough to cover the 2023 FIBA World Cup. The Basketball World Cup where Canada qualified for the Paris Olympics for the first time in forever. So we're in Manila for the knockout stage, and the arena is packed every night, but there's a shopping mall attached to the arena, 20,000 seat arena. Well, it's not just that there's an NBA store in the mall attached to the arena. It's not just because of this tournament. No. There are 2 NBA stores in Manila, Philippines.
Wow.
There are not 2 NBA stores in New York City. So, it's nuts. So the basketball and the NBA's global appeal, like Klay Thompson's shoe, you can't even really buy it in North America. It's an Asian shoe. What Yao Ming did, what the NBA's kind of outreach and outpost is just massive, and it's not just in Europe. Even with Luka, and even with Jokic, and even with Wembanyama and everybody else, they're just as popular in Asia, if not more popular in Asia than they are in Europe.
That'd be fun money to put bets on, wouldn't it? Where they go first. Be a long play. It's a long play, but yeah, it'd be good.
Keep it down, Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the baseball one today? The pitcher, by the way?
Ortiz?
No. What do you got?
Luis Ortiz. So he's under investigation. They have found there were 2 irregularities on prop bets where the first pitch, there were suddenly an exorbitant amount of money wagered on the first pitch of the second inning and the first pitch of the third inning being a ball, not a strike, or a hit by pitch. And when Ortiz missed a slider, it's not that he just missed the spot. The ball went to the backstop. So it's just it's just awesome stuff. It's awesome stuff.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
They're cheating. They're cheating, Don. The kids are cheating.
That's nuts. Well, that'll be an interesting story to follow. Now let's finally get to the Blue Jays. I mean, I've never been.
I still got an Argonaut question.
You got another question? Go
yeah.
ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Is Kelly going to play?
I don't think so.
Are we in panic mode yet in TO?
Oh, no.
Not enough people care about the Argonauts.
That's it. Yeah, Don said it before I did.
Sadly. But they're getting better.
Look, they didn't have Chad Kelly for the first 9 games last year. They didn't have Chad Kelly for the Grey Cup last year. They ended up winning the championship.
I suppose, yeah, what are they worried about?
All right.
If he comes back, great. Yeah. If not.
I'll tell you this. I think Montreal is the best team in the East, and there's a bigger gap between 1 and 2 than there is between 2 and 3. But, Davis Alexander's out too. I just think, look, the Argos are one of those situations. Just be in the hunt in September. You get your quarterback, and you'll be okay. To me, the Argos, their bigger issue is all the guys they lost on defense. They're not getting to the quarterback. You got to get some pressure on the quarterback, and that's something that Toronto hasn't done.
Okay, now we can go to Blue Jays, Donnie. You got a Blue Jay question?
Well, as Arash knows, if he remembers, I only do this 3 times a year from a year ago. But I've never been a fan of Mark Shapiro or Ross Atkins, ever. And all of a sudden, they're tied with the Yankees after the big win last night. Very exciting ball game. It was like on the edge of your seat. And I'm thinking, what are do these two dudes actually have a decent baseball team now? What do you think, Arash?
Well, I can't remember the last time this baseball team has been this hot. Like, everything has come together. Everything's going their way. Like, I turned it on in the second inning yesterday, and they're up 7-0. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, Davis Schneider, who they just demoted to the minor leagues a few weeks ago, had 2 home runs yesterday. Davis Schneider.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everything's coming together. You blow an 8-run lead, it's 9-9, and you end up winning on a pass ball. Like when it's going your way, it's going your way. And everything is going their way right now. And it's been an incredible, electric 3 days, especially against the Yankees, et cetera, et cetera. The only thing I would just say is that there's 76 more games to go.
That's lots of runway.
Well, just it's baseball, like it felt like to some people the sky was falling on the 1st of May, and now basically the 1st of July, it's like they can do no wrong. And when you play 162 at some point here, but the key is to keep winning because they all count the same. And at the end of the season, or even, in the dog days of the season, when you're in a slump, when things aren't going well, when you're banged up, all these wins you're getting now give you a little bit of cushion and buffer, which is really important.
Well, George Springer, he's sprung out. He's
found the fountain
He's
of youth.
acting like a kid in the dugout. He's loving it. He's positive. He's excited. What do you think of George Springer?
Yeah, the Grand Slam on Canada Day. That's Springer's on one. It's interesting. This is everything that they wanted him to be when they brought him in back in, when his time with the Astros was up. Last night, I thought the telling part of the game is, it's 9-9. Okay. It's in the 8th inning. Springer takes a walk, and he steals a base, and then he ends up being the winning run that scores. That's just good baseball. That's fundamental baseball. That's doing all the little things right. So you can hit all your grand slams on Canada Day, but as our friend John Gibbons would say, when it's nut cutting time, George did all the right things to make sure they win the ball game.
I love that, John. He had some great.
I don't want to be around him when it's nut cutting time. I'm telling you that right now.
I don't know anybody when it's nut cutting time.
Yeah.
Arash, thanks a lot. It was a great segment, and I wish you a very good weekend.